President Kufuor. And now we would be very, very happy to welcome your questions and your comments. I would ask you, as always, to stand when you pose your question and briefly introduce yourself, so President Kufuor also knows a little bit where you're from. Excellent, thank you. So please, don't be shy. This is our chance. We'll begin right here, please. Ladies first, okay?
Hello, sir. Thank you very much for coming and for your speech. My name is Montante. I'm from the USA, but my parents are from Liberia. And I wanted to ask, how has cultural diplomacy helped Ghana in developing and also in tourism and becoming more global in the last couple of years? Ghana wasn't really a big name, only in my house, because half my family is also from Ghana, but I wasn't really a big name internationally, like when I was a child. But it is much more of a name now that I'm much older, and I want to know, how has that process developed over the last several years? Thank you.
Would you like me to take a few questions together or one by one?
Well, let's take three at a
Three?
time.
Okay, excellent. So then please, second. Yeah.
Mr. President, my name is Arshan and I'm coming from India. Thank you so much for this speech. It was very enlightening. I'd like to ask about the climate change in itself. Like, Sub-Saharan Africa is one of the regions that is most affected by climate change and is being affected year after year. And with migration, with the climate change comes migration. And we can see like nations like Sudan and Nigeria are coming up with certain economic policies to cope up with migrants that are coming from other affected areas of the south. What do you think, how do you think the African continent can deal with the migration that's going to happen in the future with regard to climate change? And how can we treat the climate change migrants different from the refugee migrants that we see in Europe today?
Excellent. Is there a third question, please?
My name is Deborah. I'm from Nigeria. I would like to ask, with regards to what you said about Africans migrating, are there steps, are there measures that the AU is working on trying to implement to stop this? And as well, I'm sure everybody would relate to the fact that there are a lot of Africans in diaspora doing very good stuff in other people's country that we can identify to. So what is the AU doing to ensure that these people come back home and invest rather in African countries?
Thank you. First one from the American Liberian. Cultural diplomacy help to Ghana. It's, the world has opened up quite well over, say, the past 3 or 4 decades. People are traveling and come from all corners. There's serious mobility from east and west, north, south. And they go for education, for search of roots, especially the African American, for instance. They want to come back to the continent to see where their forebears were taken from, to cross the Atlantic to go to America. Some come for leisure. And you come to Ghana, there's a lot of history, because I think on the west coast of Africa, you see more castles that the colonialists built. I think Ghana alone can boast of more than 30 castles, most of which were used for slave trading. So people in diaspora would come and see these castles with a lot of emotion. Of course, when they come, they also come with resources, which in a way serve to also improve the economy. Then the bonds, the relationship bonds. is also deepened and strengthened. That has helped. Then we've got forest cover. The country, small country though, I think size is about 200 and something square kilometers, but it has 2 vegetational covers. The tropical rainforest area and then the savanna along the strip of the coast from the capital towards Togo, savanna vegetation. But as you move to the middle point of the country, towards the Sahelian parts, you see the savanna. And these vegetations, especially in the north, you come across the big animals. You have some elephants. We have a few lions and leopards. We have, is it buffalo? And other animals. And crocodiles, right in the north of the country. And it's a strange thing. I presume it's only in Ghana you see crocodiles that humans can play with. They're huge crocodiles. They crawl out of ponds, and it's like they've been trained for humans. Some can even go and sit on them and then take photographs. And these crocodiles wouldn't even try to do any harm. All they take for the tip is a hen or so, a fowl that is thrown, and then they'll show their teeth and grab it, and then just crawl back into the pond. It's in Ghana, and it's attracting a lot of visitors to come and see. So the country is benefiting. The country is learning from the stream of visitors who come, and also the visitors, I presume, also learn of history and the fauna and flora of the country. Very interesting. Then politically, we should not forget Ghana was the first country sub of the Sahara to have gained political independence from colonialism, and set the pace from the first president who sponsored many liberation struggles, and in the east of the continent, southern Africa, and many others. So again, through this political thing, Ghana becomes like a gateway and also a mecca politically for people to come. And Ghana has benefited immensely from the cultural diplomacy. We've also got some cultural practices that perhaps are unique, but you need to come and see for yourself. And then secondly, our friend from India on climate change, where even some African governments are adopting policies to keep out migrants. I don't think the policies are specifically designed to stop migrants coming in because of the impact of climate change. They don't talk climate change.
That's not what I meant. Policies that are enacted to welcome refugees from other countries.
Oh, well.
Sudan is welcoming from.
Yes. That's good, but you introduce climate change. That's why I was reacting. Yes, everybody now is fast becoming aware of climate change because our climate or weather, in a way, has changed. Rains do not come when they used to come. And droughts also occur when they shouldn't occur. But when they do come, they come with such harshness and severity that everybody is awakening because the people see the impact of the change on agriculture and on livelihoods. And the Ministry of Agriculture, government generally, are talking about the effects and advising through extension services on how people should organize their affairs to save their endeavors from deluges, flooding washing their farms off or in drought, what to do, how to use irrigation. For instance, the current government, which took office last year, January, is talking of one dam, one village, to conserve water when, say, the rains come, so that into the dry times, the farmers could still go about their agriculture. But with the policies of welcoming, Africa has 5 groupings now. In West Africa, we have what we call ECOWAS, Economic Community of West African States, designed to create a customs union for free movement of people and goods to trade, because together, West Africa, I believe, would constitute a market of something like about 200 to 300 million people. That's a serious market. And with the burden in industries and investments, when you have a market like that, then you are creating wealth, you are also creating jobs. It wouldn't be necessary for, say, small countries, youth to drift outside to seek jobs and livelihoods. It's the same in East Africa, which has also a community, and then South Africa has SADC, Central Africa, and even the Maghreb in the north. So movements are being encouraged. And the NEPAD I talked about is also there planning continentally the projects that nations could try to implement collectively, rather than, there are so many small countries in Africa, and the African Union is encouraging that we work through the regional groupings. And then Nigeria, migration. What AU is doing to stop migration. The AU, as at now, is not doing anything in terms of putting policing systems in place to stop the youth from going. I don't think AU can do it. Even though AU is not happy about the sort of migration that takes our youth across Sahara, some to die in the harshness of the desert, and then from there to Europe across Mediterranean in dingy boats, some of which get capsized, for our youth to lose their lives. No, AU is not happy. There's no country in Africa that would endorse this. The alternative, though, is that AU is advocating strongly investments, giving the youth a prospect of gainful employment and livelihood on the continent. AU is encouraging it, and this is why it set up New Partnership for Africa's Development. It sees that whereas a few countries on the continent perhaps are well off enough, attracting investments to create jobs for the youth, many are not so capable. But the resources are there, natural resources. If you are talking of fertile lands with good water courses, if you are talking of minerals, the sun is also there abundantly. And AU has set up this body to do the necessary studies in terms of communications and infrastructure generally, which invested in would create the jobs for the youth. So in that sense, AU is doing a lot. But the Africans abroad who have done well with capital and know-how, going back home, I believe that is being advocated by the countries individually themselves. Like in Ghana, we get a lot of remittances from the diaspora Ghanaians. I believe now, in some years, they repatriate as much as, say, $2, $3, $4 billion United States dollars, which is, I believe, quite significant. I'm sure some go from Germany here. government welcomes that. Our government, every now and then, arranges conferences to encourage these people, to come back and contribute to the building of the economy. But we also see that whereas before we used to term they are going away as brain drain, especially the well-trained professionals, doctors, engineers, going to, say, Europe or the Middle East to seek employment. We also see that somehow we also get some benefits with some of those who are outside, as they remittances. And occasionally, say the doctors especially, they arrange to come back home with batches of doctors, professionals that would be very hard to come by, to come and render voluntary services in communities, say, to help with optics, eye operations, or even internal organs operations. They come to help and help for free. So it is beginning to be a two-way affair. Yes, they went away seeming to deprive us, but they didn't forget they sent back monies, and then they are tending to bring their professional colleagues to come and render services that we wouldn't otherwise easily come by. So this is what is working now. But with Africa rising and everybody now trying to attract investments and quality of life improving, I presume times would come when those outside, or most of them, would come back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can we do a second round of questions? Is
Yes,
that okay?
yes.
Okay. First of all, let me pause for the first round of questions. I think your insights are very well received today. Let's continue, please.
President, this is Dr. Abdul Majid from Bangladesh. I had the opportunity to visit your great country in 2005 in connection with the OECD conference on aid harmonization.
Yeah.
At that time, you were the president of the country from
Yeah.
January 7 to 2001 to January 7 to 2009. You were the president,
Yes.
and you were also the chairman of the African Union in 2007 and 8.
You're right.
So I am a very great admirer. And you have rightly pointed out that the crocodiles even, they are so furious, but they are not so harmful. I still remember, I saw 3 cats, you see, very beautiful cats. And I found them that they were very thoughtful nearby our hotel.
Yeah.
And I thought that, I have those pictures also, that even the cats of your great country, they were seemed to me that they were very thoughtful, maybe more, in doing something. My only one question is this, that, you have already mentioned that by 2050, most of the people, about the 50% of the people will be from Africa.
Yeah.
So we are thinking about the demographic dividend, that the age group wise people are coming up, but if we cannot use them or train them or make them in such a way, otherwise they might be the demographic disaster.
Yes.
As in my country also and in some other countries also, this has been the problem. So we are looking for, and that is how we are requesting UE that make some problem plans in the morning. There were some deliberations on these issues. That quality education
Yes.
and technical education and the education that can create a manpower, human resources developed. If it is not done or cannot be done with it, then the people will be derailed, they may be terrorists, they may go errant. So that's why that imminent danger is coming up. If this demographic dividend has to be taken into in our side, then it should be done. Otherwise, it will create a dividend disaster, and that will be very bad for all of us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution. It's a fact, and that's what I try to address, that if Africa alone is going to have half the population of the world by end of this century, and the people are not prepared, well prepared, then they could become a source, yes, it will be a big market. That's where perhaps the dividend would be. But at the same time, this huge population could also become a source of miscreants and all sorts of people who, out of frustration, might resort to things that would damage the entire global community, especially with the mobility that's happening now, with planes and IT, technology, and all sorts of things. And this is why I believe it's important that the global community should look towards Africa to cooperate with the continental organization and the individual countries to prepare the people so that the investment that must take place on the continent would yield for the investors as well as the local people fairly. So then when the population is big, everybody would come to the market. Africa would become the central market of the world. But with the people locally also being able to participate in the market gamefully. So I agree with you entirely. And the challenge is how to lay the demographic policies which the continental organization and the individual countries must try to implement sincerely, so that should it happen, like is being anticipated, then Africa would become, as I said, the central market of all the world. We don't want to come there with so many people, but with the country still lagging in prosperity and in know-how, and then it will be frustration that might impact global community very adversely. So this is what I believe it is.
Additional questions or comments, please?
Joseph, California, United States. Thank you, Mr. President. My question is on the difficult question of difficult solution to providing power to the people of Ghana and also Africa. As we're looking at renewable energy as a way of combating climate change, but we're also seeing the irreversible damage from hydropower, whether it be from the large dams that China did or in Brazil, with displacing of peoples, erosion, and also the destruction of soil. So my question will be, how can we lean more into renewable energy without destroying our arable lands, and also without manipulating our waterways in such a way where it's going to be destructive to the villagers as well as
national economy.
Yeah.
You are right there. We see, we've come to the technological age. You don't talk technology without science. So scientific research with guidance for policy and also implementation of policy within the communities, I believe is the most crucial thing. You can't really develop now without resort to science and technology. So it's same science that not too long ago advocated hydro energy. Now science has come back to say, look, don't do it in excess. Look at other renewables like solar, like even wave energy in the sea. In Kenya now they are doing geothermal. So there are so many things being advised and advocated. And the thing to do is that governance should include a serious measure of technocracy. That might be the way to achieve the balance that would protect over relying on hydropower to the detriment of our environment and displacement of our people. But solar energy seems to be catching up very fast. Wind energy and all these things. People are looking at all of it.
President Kufuor, if I may, I would be grateful if I could also pose one question to you.
Yes.
I think you know earlier this week we hosted the Africa Development Forum, which is part of our series of events called The Rise of Africa. And there were a number of observations there where I'd be very grateful for your feedback, in particular related to your comments today on the African Union and also the diaspora. As you know, the diaspora, depending how one measures it, of Africa is actually larger than the African population and socioeconomically very strong. You mentioned Western Union in terms of the one direction of the transactions as opposed to the other direction. One of the observations we made this week as well, however, it tends to be relatively fragmented. Ghana, diaspora works with Ghana, Nigeria with Nigeria. What efforts have been made, I know some have been made at the African Union level, to try to work more with the diaspora? And do you see an important opportunity to try to unite more the African diaspora, to work more in partnership, also to change the language so that it's no longer a question of aid but a question of trade? Because I think there, between the diaspora and the continent, there seems, at least from our point of view, an amazing opportunity there. What progress has been made there, and do you agree, is there an opportunity that should be explored further?
Oh, the opportunity definitely is there. We shouldn't forget that immediately after independence, some African leaders advocated a continental union. You know, and Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, my predecessor, who led in this advocacy. Continental union. And this vision, I believe, is still locked in the affairs of the African Union. The only way is that whereas the immediate post-independence time some of the leaders advocated immediate continental union, and others resisted because they thought it wouldn't be feasible. They didn't have the administrative organization to be able to run a continental, and Africa is a huge continent of over 55 countries at different levels of development, and then with the colonial history, some were, say, Anglophone, others Francophone, others Lusophone, with, say, Ethiopia being the one country that was never colonized, and everybody was coming with different languages, different cultures, and stages of economic development. So that was, but within the years, and it's about 60 years averagely of independence, what's happening is the regional groupings, like in West Africa, we're trying to create a market of West Africa, of countries, some coming from Francophone background, with different currencies, some Anglophone. It's happening. And just about 2-3 weeks ago, I believe the heads of states gathered in Accra to contemplate on adopting a single currency, monetary. They are being realistic and hard-headed. They know that it might not be easy, but at least they've set up an organization of professionals across the divides to try to see how, say, by a few years later, we might come to use this currency. Well, should we succeed, and it's not just the currency, we're talking of networking through infrastructural mechanisms like rail, like road, West Africa Highway from, say, Nigeria all the way to Senegal. When you look at it, this is going on here. East Africa is doing the same. Southern Africa is doing the same. Through this, I believe diaspora and investment goes where it believes it will make the profit. When people begin to see that truly the economy is shaped with prospects of good returns on investment, then they will come, and the diaspora in particular might be in the leadership to try to come back, because the potential is very big there. It's been said that it should be easier to make for an investor the next round of $1 million in Africa than, say, in the United States or in Europe. And if investment really moves for profit, then Africa, and I believe the countries are shaping themselves. Incidentally, the Continental Union has also added to its 5 regional groupings a 6th for the African diaspora. And the diaspora here is not just people who are, say, current Africans, but the African Americans or people of African descent. They are all supposed to be there. And there's an ambassador for this group advocating, looking back to the continent, who attends African Union summits. So this is what it's happening.
So I think we definitely see eye to eye there, and I'd love to explore these themes further with you in terms of diaspora.
Yeah.
Allow me maybe just one final question. I promise that'll be the last one, but you inspired me as well. There are 2 American academics, I'm sure you're aware of, Cornel West and Benjamin Barber, with this thesis of global interdependence. The idea that for a long time, especially in Africa, the focus was independence, 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 which is great, and all due respect for independence. But the point they're making is as soon as the independence is reached, you have to very quickly realize we are interdependent, and we live in interdependent, and as much as you want to be free and do your own thing, you can't. And in that sense, I wanted to pose a question as well. There was also a thesis earlier this week in the African Development Forum. You just made a reference to it as well. The political map of Africa has very little to do, actually, with the cultural map of Africa. And another book of Benjamin Barber is the title, Why Mayors Should Rule the World. And his main thesis there is that the nation state itself is becoming less useful as a way of grouping different bodies of individuals together. And I think Africa is an extreme case, where, I mean, Nigeria, we were talking about earlier, over 300 languages and tribes. You know, how does one pinpoint and say this is Nigerian identity? And obviously that's true of many African states. So just as a question looking ahead, could you envision other ways in which, we may also work with Africa? I mean, we have the African Union, there are different groupings, as you said. Will the map of Africa stay as it is? Or are there more efficient ways of trying to get results? The thesis of Barber is that a mayor has to make sure that, the streets are paved, the fire department works, police department, and in some ways is actually more accountable, and it has to be more efficient than actually the national level. So it's a big question looking more to the future, but how do you see, let's say, the evolution of Africa and also the ways in which the rest of the world can work with Africa? I don't know if it'll be mayors per se as opposed to national leaders, but what might be your insights looking ahead?
Well, mayors must rule the world. Definitely, it's a vision that's a bit like a pie in the sky. And even for the developed world, that might be some time coming. But in Africa, yes, we talked independence because the continent, or sub-Saharan Africa in the main, suffered long periods of subjugation from outside. Slave trade and later colonialism that lasted over 100 years. And the confidence of people got shattered. We found ourselves sort of encased in artificial boundaries with languages and cultures of the colonialists who didn't cooperate with each other. Like, you come to Ghana, there's a boundary between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. This boundary was drawn irrespective of the cultural relationships between people on either side of the border. For a period of 100 years then, and through education, the peoples of these two countries got, if you like, disorientated to think not of each other as of the same, say, tribal or clan. Rather, we were made to look towards the metropolises of the colonialists. So the Anglophones always looked to London, just like the Francophones looked to Paris. When the colonialists did any development, like, say, with telecommunications, they hooked their colonial possession direct to their metropolitan capital, so that should Ghanaian want to speak with his cousin in Cote d'Ivoire, the call would go to London before it would be transmitted back to Cote d'Ivoire. And so people really came to feel like different. But once the spirit of independence seized them and they were moving, they became so jealous of their newfound sovereignty. So any talk of foregoing the independence they had won really became suspect. Yeah. But as I say, the continent is working its way out of the blinkers put on them by colonial thing, and we're trying to overcome. In due course, I believe the dignity of the individual would gain, it's already happening, but it would gain more ascendancy. And through that, when the people select their mayors, and the people, say, within a metropolis, have the resources to run as such without recourse to a central authority somewhere for resources to do their roads, their electricity, their education, their healthcare, then the mayors perhaps may come to be like locality where governance would go right to the doorstep of the individual. I say it's a bit far from there. We have mayors. In fact, our current president is committed to ensuring that the mayors of our districts are elected by the people within the district, meaning power would be devolved to the localities to enhance democracy. But the question is, would these localities be resourced enough to operate without recourse back to the central authority for at least top-up and things like that? So this is the question that's being worked on. And it's not only in Ghana, I believe it's on the whole of the continent. But by and by, after all, the world is envisioning a global village where cultures would be shared, where the dignity of man would be secured and preserved, where perhaps nation states may not be as strong and as relevant as they are now. I believe it's a continental and global challenge, but the movement seems to be in the direction. It may take 100 years or longer, but as of now, I think
one answer might be in the strengthening of the African Union as a whole, and that framework itself might make the process easier. But
well, that's the continental government. But even there, when you are talking of devolution of power, you see that the union might come to depend not so much on the nation states, member states, as the local mayor, who in turn would be very accountable to the citizen who is alert to demand accountability and transparency of the mayor. And this may apply across the board.
President Kufuor, you have been so generous. First of all, to come and grace us also with your presence, the speech, also for engaging us in questions. I'm sure there's many more questions, but I also know it's been a very long day for you as well. So I think we should probably come to conclusion, even though I'm sure there's many, many more questions we would like to ask. But before we do that, I think we definitely would like to first of all express our gratitude to you once again. So first of all, I'd like to ask everyone to please join together to express our sincere gratitude to President Kufuor.